Hey, what's up? This is Hunter with Tortoise and Hare Software, and today we're going to be talking about SEO strategy for managed IT service providers. So, you've probably heard about the importance of SEO or that other MSPs are using it to drive lead volume. And I can say for sure that we have helped multiple clients drive leads via SEO, and it's the number one lead generation source for the agency here at Tortoise and Hare Software. SEO is not going to be a cure-all thing. It's a long-term process, but it is the highest volume channel in terms of like traffic generation. Between organic search via text content and YouTube, which is also a search engine. That's going to be the way you're going to drive the highest lead volume. That said, it's also probably the most difficult in terms of a timeline for a return. So, you can kind of sink your business going the SEO route just by investing, and never really clearing that horizon for timeline and a return. So, it's usually better to just do SEO as kind of a, hygiene sort of thing, like brushing your teeth. You just do it because, you want your teeth when you're older. You just do your SEO work every month because you want more leads in the future. And if you just take that attitude, you will find success with SEO. But one of the biggest stumbling blocks, with using SEO to drive that lead volume and extract value for your MSP is that you need a good strategy. And a lot of times MSPs just don't think about strategy. They just heard like, oh, we should be blogging, and they start writing some blog content and they don't see anything and then they just quit. Or, oh, you gotta, do this on your landing pages, and they do that and they don't see any results and they just quit. We're going to talk a little bit more about SEO strategy here and why that's kind of a key element, and then talk about some example SEO strategies that you can use for, crossing that threshold of timeline for an ROI via SEO. So let's hop over to the screen share there. So again, a lot of MSPs try and do their SEO, but they kind of go into their SEO efforts with no real strategy. And that is just a tough road to go. You're creating content all over the place. One post is about networking, the next post is about cybersecurity, the next post is about connectivity for Wi-Fi, and the next post is about how to do something with Teams. It's just you're never going to really like build any sort of reputation in your customers' minds with that approach. It's also just so hard to like really see the traction and clear that timeline for ROI. Because and one of the reasons that is because narrowly focused domains tend to perform better. If you're writing about stuff within a specific sort of like expertise or set of keywords, or just like kind of hammering one area until you've really like dominated the kind of pool of keywords within that niche, is just going to perform better overall. And one of the reasons is because when customers have a specific problem or specific way they identify themselves internally, and you're showing up in the content in areas that are performing research repeatedly, that's better for closing deals. It might not be the best for maximizing traffic flow, but it's definitely the best for closing deals and building that brand repetition and brand recognition in potential customers' minds. And all that makes the timelines for ROI shorter. So no SEO strategy is not a good strategy, but it's probably the most common one. The second most common one, and is kind of the, in my opinion, the next evolution of, no SEO strategy, is a local SEO strategy. It's super popular because it's, really easy and straightforward to, cut out a lot of your competition by just focusing on local keywords, because, larger, more established companies don't care about individual cities as much. And if you're in a outside of like a top 20 city in the US, you might face almost no competition from like outsiders. everybody, if you're in New York, that might not be the case, or if you're in Atlanta or something like that, you might still face, competition from national providers. But, again, like narrowly focused domains tend to do better. So those big guys aren't talking about Atlanta all the time, or they're not talking about Jacksonville all the time. So they're just not going to rank very well for Atlanta or Jacksonville or whatever local type keywords as well. Whereas if you're consistently doing that across your content, you'll rank very well for them. But a local SEO strategy is like generally not one of my favorites because, proximity to the customer is in some ways a pretty weak value proposition. And in my opinion, that kind of leads to getting beat up on rates, getting pushed around, getting a lack of respect from your customers and things like that. And it's really just not a great reason to have somebody motivated to be, reaching out to you. I will say the timeline for ROI is somewhat, can be shorter, but, even local SEO these days is getting tougher to compete in just because everybody knows that it's easier and it's also pretty straightforward. It's pretty easy to sell, like, oh, let's just start blogging about, let's just start making sure your content's about, city name or whatever. It's really easy for MSP owners to understand that. So like it's frequently sold. But again, I'm not a huge fan. I don't think it's the best long-term choice for a lot of businesses. So let's talk about some of the other, SEO strategies that you can go with. One of those is going to be like a horizontal SEO strategy. And some of these are require you to be at least a regional provider or be willing to open your business up to national lead generation. But, in today's like remote world, that's not usually a barrier. And I've seen plenty of MSPs service, customers around the country. It's, on-site is rarely needed. And when it is, there's ways to outsource a local tech, on a case-by-case basis and still remain profitable. But a horizontal strategy is kind of, anchoring your content around a specific technology. So something like HubSpot is a good example in kind of the, marketing world. But, it could be SharePoint. I think SharePoint is a highly underutilized, untargeted area for MSPs. It can be talking about how to, consistently about how to use Microsoft Teams and extract more value out of that. It can be talking more about Azure Cloud. It can be talking more about AWS. Like, many companies have gone with a horizontal strategy and found a lot of success. I mean, we have one here in Jacksonville that has bootstrapped a $10 million company just being an AWS consulting partner. And, they do managed services as well, but, they might have even considered themselves an MSP internally, but from a content marketing standpoint, they focused on being an AWS consulting partner, build a huge business off of it. So horizontal strategies can be, super valuable. They're also, relatively uncompetitive because there's so many different like challenges that people have when using a, specific software product or specific technology. So, the whole like kind of they ask you answer, mantra is really easy to execute because people have so many questions. It's easy for you to answer them. And, there's basically unlimited amount of topics as long as the technology has enough proliferation in the market. So many options there to go with. Kind of a similar but different sort of strategy from there is to go with a domain-based strategy. So instead of focusing on a specific, piece of technology, which might not always be prudent, it might make more sense to go with more of a domain-based approach. So when I say domain-based, I mean like, instead of thinking about like cybersecurity, which is such a broad topic with so many different areas, you can narrow down to something more like email security. A lot of customers aren't necessarily like buying and using email security software as like end customers and day-to-day users, but there's a lot of business owners who care about email security as like a domain overall. So you can use that to anchor your content strategy by comparing and contrasting like providers within the space, talking about email security techniques, features and functionality that the software kind of provides and why it's a threat, what the problems are involved with email security, things like that. I've got some good examples of domain-based content that you can use in the companion blog post for this video. But yeah, that's kind of the domain-based strategy, and that's something that you want to pick something that's big enough that there's a big enough market that you can really like get in front of people. Email security is a great example because there's a ton of demand, but also a lot of ways that you can create relatively low competition content and reach a lot of people reliably. So you just got to put a little thought into there. Working with a consultant like Tortoise and Hare to help you kind of like decide on an SEO strategy is something that can be very valuable, because you probably know what you want to target from a strategic standpoint, and we can help you evaluate the market size from an SEO like software side and what it might take to penetrate that market and things like that. Then another kind of like SEO strategy you can go with is more of a vertical strategy. So this is talking about some of you can take more of a no SEO strategy approach where you just write about anything and everything and whatever you want, but talking to a specific vertical. So you can write about cybersecurity for lawyers, and then networks for lawyers, and then how to use Teams for lawyers and things like that, and then just stay focused on that specific vertical. This one's pretty common and pretty intuitive, easy to understand, but is nonetheless effective. There are a lot of people that are looking for providers that service their vertical specifically, and they value industry partnerships that you can form with people like Clio and Practice Panther and blah blah blah, and customers value that. So following sort of a vertical strategy is another kind of tried and true way to find some success within SEO. This one I don't see as often, but I still think can be effective, and I definitely see it more on the SaaS side than the MSP side, but doing more of a target ICP sort of strategy. So instead of going after like a specific vertical, you're going after a specific type of like executive. So like say you want to speak directly to COOs. That's who you want to reach with your content. So all your content's aligned towards reaching COOs and thinking about the various problems that COOs face. And there's a lot of different buyer personas for MSPs within the space. There's office managers, there's IT managers, there's the COO, there's the CFO, there's the CEO, there's the founder, sort of type. CIO, the CISO, like all those people could be sort of buyers. So really thinking about a target ICP is like a good way to develop an SEO strategy and writing content specifically to them and using keywords related to their like job titles and things like that. There's also really great advertising targeting capabilities so you can augment that sort of content really efficiently. So a target ICP strategy is another great strategy from an SEO perspective where you can really like own a niche. And then the last case is if you're finding that like you've gone to a specific direction, and maybe you're thinking that market's too big for us to really crack and you want to narrow it down, you can go with a combination SEO strategy. So, for instance, like combining a local SEO strategy with a vertical strategy, like we're going to talk about, content for lawyers in New York. I mean, that's a great way to kind of narrow your focus down and again, own that sort of niche. Or talk only about, CFOs in, San Francisco, because they have, different challenges related to funding and venture capital requirements. So, that's doing a combination SEO strategy is a good way to like narrow something down even further, so you can kind of find that niche that you can really again own and dominate the keywords for. And then once you've really conquered like a niche or like done what you want to do and really seen like what it takes to like penetrate a specific area and extract lead volume and lead value out of it, then you can go execute this with other strategy, other niches in the future, but like, cracking that initial like traction is the hardest part. So, and developing the right SEO strategy is a great way to make that easier on yourself and start to see the value of SEO and why it can be such a huge asset for your business. Alright guys, hope you liked the video. We talked a little bit about SEO strategies for MSPs. Talked about how narrowly focused domains tend to perform better. The timelines for ROI are shorter when you develop the right strategy and allow you to own that niche and really get repetition and brand recognition within your prospects' minds when they're conducting research over a specific sort of way that they identify themselves. And developing an SEO strategy that's a little more focused isn't something that's necessarily the best for traffic generation, but again, it's the best for actually generating leads and closing deals, because you develop a perception of expertise within your prospects' minds of being the SharePoint guy, or the the email security vendor, or the vendor who knows most about law firms, the vendor who knows most about how to be a good COO, or whatever it may be. We can really help you narrow down and evaluate the potential for success for going after a specific niche or developing an SEO strategy. And we can help on the execution side too. So if you want to learn more, reach out to Tortoise and Hare Software today and learn more about how we can help you out with your SEO. Or you can just take this and run with this and develop your own SEO strategy and go nuts. Follow along for more content. We're creating all sorts of more helpful content for MSPs to help grow their business. And again, I'm Hunter Nelson with Tortoise and Hare Software, and thanks for watching.